So what if Apple decided to make a Tier 4 version of the Apple Card? For maybe some of you who don't know, the typical Apple Card, the one Apple launched last year, is a Tier 2 credit card, which means that it does not cost anything to use. The rewards are not that amazing. They're pretty good, but it's a great starter card for a lot of people. But I wanted to talk about the idea of a Tier 3 or Tier 4 Apple Card where the rewards are really, really high, but of course there is an annual membership with that, so it can compete more closely with things like the American Express Platinum, which has very high-end rewards, but of course an annual membership. We know the people at Apple probably are already using these cards, right? There's some very rich people in charge of that company as a whole, so they've got to be aware of expensive but high reward credit cards out there, and maybe if the Apple Card does well enough, they may just make that card a reality. But I'm no Tier 4 credit card user. All I have is the Apple Card, so I thought it might be fun to sit down and talk to my good friend Nick Ansuini from the Tailosive Tech podcast, because he actually created American Express all by himself. So of course, he has an Amex Platinum. He's got some thoughts on the matter, and hope you enjoy the interview. Let's go. So Nick Ansuini, the creator of American Express, thank you for sitting down and talking to me today. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad that you are super... I didn't invent American Express. Wish I did. If I did, though.
Okay.
That would have been cool.
So you and I have kind of bickered endlessly on the tech podcast, for those who maybe don't listen, about Apple Card versus Amex Platinum. You're a big Amex Platinum fan because it's a Tier 4 card. You get big rewards out of that, even if it does cost an annual fee. And I'm more of a fan of the Tier 2, just free to use card, and you just get the minimal rewards there are. But I'm curious, what would Apple have to do to the Apple Card in order to make a Tier 4 Amex Platinum competitor, in your opinion?
First, let me say, if you like the Apple Card, you can keep your Apple Card. I'm not going to stop you from using your Apple Card. I think the Apple Card's a great card for some people. You know, if you like the world's simplest card, the Apple Card is for you. It gives you 1% back on everything, 2% on Apple Pay, and 3% on Apple, and 6% now. And so it's a very simple card. I'm very happy about that. As a minimalist, essentialist, I am very excited that Apple's making this card, but it's not for me. I definitely appreciate the pro features. So in my mind, the Platinum Card is a bit like an Apple iPhone 10 or 11 Pro Max or a very high-end smartphone. There are some people out there who don't care what kind of smartphone they have. They have, the basic, 3-year-old Android phone or a Galaxy phone or something. I am the kind of person who prefers to have the latest iPhone that has all of the specs and all of the features, even though it costs a lot of money. So that's kind of where I'm coming at it. I like this kind of card because of some of the features and benefits it gives. And I don't think any one of them is enough to say it's the world's best card, but I think in congruence together, they make it the best card for me and for what I need out of a card.
So you would need, with an Apple Card Plus, for instance, or Apple Card Max,
Pro.
or whatever. Pro, obviously. If there was a Pro card in a matte black or space gray or whatever, what things do you think they should just focus on making an assortment of perks, or should they go after directly what Amex Platinum has gone after?
So there are kind of different types of Tier 4 cards. You have like a dining card or a travel card are kind of the two main categories. Those cards typically focus on either dining or travel spend, so you get a lot of value if you travel a lot. If you're using a traveler's card, you get a lot of value back if you're dining a lot, if you're using a dining card. I think that Apple shouldn't pursue either of those markets in their Tier 4 card. I think they should point this Tier 4 card for the ultimate Apple sheep. Because at the end of the day, Apple isn't going to be able to create enough relationships with airlines and make lounges, and I don't feel like it's kind of already a saturated market. I don't feel like Apple should go into that. I feel like they should focus on what they have as their products and services and keep us Apple sheep even deeper in the ecosystem. I think with a Tier 4 card, they should charge about $400, maybe $500 a year for this annual fee for this supposed Pro card, and give you
big time then.
Yeah, and give you Apple Care on any device that you purchase with the card every year. So you get full Apple Care for, say maybe 3 or 5 devices every year. And if you buy enough Apple products, that will actually pay off, because I already buy Apple Care every single device that I have. So
Right.
having that included with the card would offset the annual fee quite a bit and make it a good value.
Would you say, like, include, at that price, they should just include all the services they already offer?
They could definitely do that, and I think that would be a great benefit. All the services, Apple TV Plus, News Plus, which is overpriced, they should just put those all together into one
Bundled
great card.
everything.
Yeah.
And you get the max out iCloud storage as well. Would you still go along with the cashback thing? Do you still think they should provide cashback on purchases just like they do with the normal card?
Personally, I prefer points. I feel like points are a little bit more nitty-gritty. I can decide what I'm going to use my points for. If I want to do a direct bill credit on my card and transfer points into cash, I can do that. Or if I want to transfer them to this airline and then use this airline's portal to transfer them to a hotel network that gives them a better redemption rate, and then use that hotel network to transfer them to a different airline. I could do all these fun things with points that you can't necessarily do with cashback. And so I don't think that Apple would be able to make a viable system, because you basically have two main credit card points. You have American Express membership reward points, and you have Chase Ultimate reward points. These are 2-point currencies basically, and I feel like they have a lot of contracts and deals with airlines and hotels chains that it would make it difficult for Apple to go in and make Apple points. So I do think that cashback, even on a tier 4 card, would be acceptable. Just seeing how that's not really, at the end of the day, a tier 4 user is not using the card for the points back or the cash back. They're really using it for all the fringe benefits.
If you're saying you would be on board with the cashback idea for Apple Card Pro, would you say, I don't know, maybe like double the percentages across the board of the regular Apple Card? So now 6% on everything Apple, 4% on anything Apple Pay, or even further. What do you think?
I think 2% on everything is a good number. They kind of already do that with the Apple Card as long as you're using Apple Pay. For example, my American Express Platinum Card gets 1x back on everything. That's 1 point back per dollar of spend. The way that I value the points, they're worth about 2 cents per point. So that means I'm getting about 2% back on every dollar that I spend on my Platinum Card.
Okay.
And that's not including travel or dining with my other cards. That's just kind of your vanilla, go to the grocery store or whatever. So that's kind of the vanilla. As long as I'm getting 2% back, I'm happy with the card. If Apple were to keep the same percentage earnings as the original Apple Card and just add in a lot of other fringe benefits, at the end of the day, I don't think the Apple Card's a bad earning card. I think it's a very decent cashback card. Gets you plenty of cash back for good categories that I actually spend a lot in. 6% back at Apple.
Yeah. So would you be on board with that for an Apple Card Pro if they did 6% on everything Apple?
If they kept that around permanently, I think that they might run out of money.
Well, that would obviously be the point of the annual subscription, right? It's not a free-to-use card. Absolutely. I don't know if the things we talked about today would equal up to... Do you think they would equal up to $400 of savings?
Well, so I think that Apple Care benefit will be, in my vision of this card, will be the main feature. You think about your iPhone, you spend $250 a year on Apple Care for that. So you spend a lot of money on Apple Care, and I feel like I have personally spent around $400 a year on Apple Care. And I do feel like I get that value out. That's why I do buy Apple Care. It's the world's best case. You don't have to have a case.
Ah, that's true.
But after I get that value back from that annual fee, so if the annual fee is $400, and I feel like I've gotten $400 of value out of these Apple Care purchases, whatever other benefits they have are just going to be icing on the cake.
So we're talking 6% cash back at Apple on, well, I was going to say services, but that's all included with this card at this point anyway, right?
That's true.
So
maybe iTunes purchases. Because who buys
iTunes
music?
Purchases, if you still do those, or any billing through Apple, any other memberships would be a probably good way to incentivize, and then maybe a 2% everywhere, 4% on Apple Pay.
I'd say 2% everywhere, regardless of Apple Pay. I think that there are a lot of people who got the Apple Card just because it has that titanium flex. And as a platinum user who's had a metal card for years and years, it is fun to spend that way. And I know that there are lots of Apple Card users who do spend with a physical card knowing full well that they could be using Apple Pay just so they can flex. And that's totally fine. That's a fun feature of credit cards. That's one of the reasons why I like my Platinum Card. But it was always kind of a bummer for me when I'm looking at the Apple Card, the original Apple Card. I'm like, oh, you get this fancy card, but they incentivize you not to use it.
True. True.
I would like to see them incentivize people to use the fancy card.
Oh, okay. So you want more titanium slapping.
All the titanium slapping. Just all of the titanium slapping.
Okay, I got you. So I guess if you buy a ton of Apple products every year and you usually get Apple Care with them, I could see it being used a lot. But if you're someone like me who almost never gets Apple Care, I would probably not see that as being worth it, because I don't think I would spend $400 on that department. And with the memberships, even all of them included, like bundling all those outside of Apple Card Pro or whatever, would probably be around like $50 a month. My last idea, which I'll throw at you, is that in order to get it worth being a $400 a year card, I think part of that annual membership should be including a maxed out iPhone upgrade program.
Ooh.
How would you feel about that?
So what is that? Like $70 a month or so is like the top tier.
That would be it outside the card. If you sign up for this card, you instantly will automatically, just part of that card's annual fee is that you get the latest, best iPhone every single year.
Interesting.
Alongside all these other perks we talked about. Do you think that they would lose too much money on that, or?
Well, again, I don't care about annual fees. When I'm looking at a card and comparing its value, I would be on board with a $1,500 card as long as there was enough value.
Whoa.
If I could see myself getting $1,500 worth of value out of it. My Platinum card, I got $1,700 of value out of my $550 of the first year. So I feel like you can always play with the numbers, and I think that's a very interesting idea. I would probably get it just for that, because it's just combining your entire iPhone purchase.
I like your idea of it just being targeted at the heaviest Apple user possible. Because regular Apple Card, I think, is more targeted at someone like I think we've talked about. It would be a great first credit card for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Because it makes interest payments very upfront, and it's very easy to understand and simple. It's not too complicated. There's no points.
Yeah.
But if they were making something made for the higher end spender, for the type of person that signs up for these higher end cards that you need, I don't know what the score requirement is for Platinum, but you need a fairly high score to get approved.
It's very high.
Okay. Yeah. As someone who's not really that invested in those tier 4 credit cards, I would say, with all the things we listed today, that would probably be the best way to persuade me. Even though I don't think I would get it, the best way to persuade me is to say that it's $400 a year, but you get all these services included, 6% back at Apple, as well as the latest, newest iPhone every year, along with Apple Care with everything. I could totally see probably a ton of people signing up for that, even if it was on the higher end of annual memberships.
And a higher annual membership is really a benefit in my mind. It keeps it exclusive. I'm a big fan of exclusivity. The higher the sticker price, the fewer people are going to have it, and the more exclusive it'll feel when you smack down that titanium.
All right, cool. Well, thank you for talking to me about it. I like bouncing ideas off you. And final question, would you get that card about the one we just talked about?
Absolutely. I have said I don't like the Apple Card in its current form, but if they had a tier 4 version or something more exclusive, I'd be all over it.
All right, cool. Well, thanks, Nick. Thank you for creating Amex, and I hope you have an excellent day. Bye-bye. Alrighty, so what do you guys think? Would you get that card with the perks we talked about? Do you think that's worth $400 a year, or is that too low? Maybe it needs to be higher? Or are you not interested in higher tier credit cards at all? Feel free to let me know what you're thinking about hitting me up over on Twitter or joining our Discord, or let me know of some pitches of maybe a tier 3 Apple card, so it doesn't have to be extreme over the top, maybe just $100 a year and what perks that could entail. Or I'd also love to talk about a tier 5 Apple card where it's invite only, so you gotta be the official Apple Sheep to use it. But anyway, this is your Apple Sheep here. I will see you guys in the next one.